Alright, so now it's time to look at another features that you can use with functions, and that is called default parameters. And let's first declare a function. So I'm gonna declare down here at the end of our enclosing curly brace for main, fun. I'm gonna call it send message. Let's put the parentheses, and inside the parentheses I'm gonna define two parameters. The first is gonna be called name, it's gonna be of type string, and this second one is gonna be called message, and it's gonna be also of type string. Now let's declare the curly braces, press enter, and let's print those parameters in our console. So let's put a print line here, and inside the also while I'm typing this println, you may see that this println function is a function which is overload, referring to our previous video, because you can see that it has the same name, but it can take different types of parameters here. So it has int, this thing which is any, byte, short, char, long. So the println function that we've used throughout our videos is overloaded. This is why you can pass different types of data to it. Now let's type here println quotation marks, and inside the quotation mark we're gonna type name equals $name. So now it's gonna print the argument values that we're gonna pass to this function as parameters. Now let's call this function here. So let's type send message. Let's press Ctrl Alt L to format our code, and here I'm gonna pass a name, let's say Alexa, and the message, let's say hello. Now if you run this code, you're gonna see in the output the name here is gonna be this argument that you type here, which is Alexa, and the message is gonna be hello. So we have this. But let's say that for whatever reason the user doesn't want to send any kind of message, but we still need to use this function. What you can do then? One way is to remove this parameter all the way, but that's not good, because you still need to use this function with those two parameters, the name and the message. So let's say that if the user doesn't pass any message, we can define here what is called a default parameter. So we can assign here a default value for our parameter. So I'm gonna put here just double quotation marks, or you can put some text here, but let's put just the double quotation marks, which is just an empty text. So if now I don't pass a message here, now it's still gonna work, because as a value for this parameter is gonna use the default value that we defined here. Alright, so let's run this code to see now how it works. So now I get name Alexa and message equals empty, because double quotation marks without any text is an empty text. Now if I want to pass here now the message, now I can pass here the message, and now our default value is going to be replaced with the argument value that we typed here. So now I'm going to see name Alexa, message hello. Alright, you can do the same thing for the name. So here you can define, let's say the user doesn't want to type a name, and you can define a default name, let's say user. Yes. Now let's say that I delete both arguments here, and I just have an empty function. If I run this, now it's gonna use the default values that you type here, respectively user and this empty string. So now I get name, user, and message. Now let's put back what we have. So let's put here Alexa, and let's put our message here again. Now let's run this code again. Now what we can also do is use what is called named parameters. And let's say that I want to pass a parameter only for the second let's say that I want to pass an argument type only for the second parameter that we define here, respectively for our message. So if I delete this, now let's say that I delete the argument for our name, and if I want to pass a value only for the message, let's put in the quotation mark because it's a string. Let's say I put the message hello here. Now you can see that the hint is name, so it's using the first parameter that we define here, not the second. So what we can do now to pass a value only to our second parameter, because as you can see, it's assigning this value that we type here for this parameter. And to solve that, you can use what is called name parameters. So with name parameters, we can type an argument for our parameter irrespective of the order in which they are defined. So in our case, we have the name for defined and then the message. So to use that, we can type the name of the parameter, let's say message. Now you see that we have this p message and it's equals to a string, so that means that we need to pass some text there. And now we can pass here hello. And now this is gonna work because now we can pass a value to our parameter irrespective of the order in which they are defined here, right? So now we get name is this default user and the message is hello. And we can do the same for the second one, which is name. So I can put now here name, and I can type here let's say Alexa. And if you run this, now you get Alexa is the name and the message is hello. So with named parameters, this is how they are called, or name arguments, we can pass a value to our parameters irrespective of the order in which they are defined in the function. So in our case, name is first defined, and you saw there that when I try to use the message to assign a value only for the message, it was using the first parameter because this was the order in which they were defined. But with these named parameters, you can change. You can type an argument irrespective of the order in which they are defined, and you can put this in multiple lines to make it more clear, like this. Let's say. So this is our discussion about named parameters and default parameters. But before we end our video, I should say that to the default parameters, we cannot only type literal values like we typed here some values directly. We can use variables, or you can use a function which can return a value. So I can define here a function, let's say fun send text. It's not going to have any parameters. It's going to return a string. So I'm going to define here a string as the type of return. And here we're going to type return, and let's type some text. Now we can call this function here send text, and now this value which is returned for this function send text is going to be assigned to our parameter message. So now if you run this code, let's increase this a little bit. So now if you run this code, you're going to see that now the default value for the parameter message is the return value from our send text function. So you can see now that we have okay, so let's change it here to no value for our message. So now if you run this code, because there we have an argument passed, so let's not pass no argument. So now it's using the value that was passed as the default value for our parameter, which is this return value from this function. Now, because here we have one single line of code, we have one single expression, we just return some text to our function, we don't have multiple statements in our function, we can write this as a single expression function. And you can remove the curly brace, and you can write this as a single expression body like we did in a previous video. So you can put here just equals, and you can remove the type here also. So if you run this code, now you're gonna see to the output for the parameter message some text, which is the value which is returned from this function, from the single body expression function, right? So see you in the next video.